Rain lashed against the windows, wind howled outside. Inside, Alex, Claire, Derek, and Ben were having a horror movie marathon. Popcorn crunched, shadows danced on the walls.
Who's scared?
Not me.
Claire said, but she snuggled closer to Derek. Ben shivered.
This is getting creepy.
The doorbell rang. A jolt of surprise went through the room. Who would be out on a night like this?
I'll get it.
Alex said bravely, getting up and heading for the door. Alex threw open the door, the hinges groaning in protest as if they hadn't been moved in years. The air was thick with dust, and the smell of decay was almost overwhelming. Standing there was Mr. Hemmings, an old man who lived down the street. His face was pale and his hands trembled as he clutched the door frame for support. He was out of breath, his eyes wide with fear. It was clear that something had terrified him beyond reason. "Mr. Hemmings, it's the house. The house at the end of the road," he gasped, pointing a shaky finger down the road. "Mr. Hemmings, Raven's Hollow, the place where no one dares to go. Raven's Hollow." The abandoned mansion at the edge of town. Its windows were shattered, and the yard was overgrown with weeds. It was said to be haunted. Stories of ghostly apparitions and strange noises had kept people away for decades. No one dared to go near it. The mere mention of its name sent shivers down the spines of the townsfolk.
"What about it?" Derek asked, his voice tinged with curiosity and a hint of fear.
Derek asked, stepping forward. His heart pounded in his chest, but he couldn't resist the pull of the unknown. Mr. Hemmings took a deep breath, trying to steady himself. His voice was barely above a whisper. "Mr. Hemmings, I saw a light in the window. And I heard noises. Strange, unearthly noises that chilled me to the bone." An idea sparked in Alex's eyes. He had always been fascinated by the supernatural, and this was an opportunity he couldn't pass up.
"Let's check it out," Alex said, his voice filled with excitement and determination. The group exchanged nervous glances but nodded in agreement. They knew it was risky, but the lure of the unknown was too strong to resist.
The old iron gates creaked open, their rusty hinges groaning in protest. The friends stood before the house, its dark silhouette looming ominously against the night sky. They exchanged uneasy glances, each one feeling the weight of the eerie atmosphere. It was even creepier up close. Cobwebs draped the porch like ghostly curtains, swaying gently in the breeze. The paint peeled off in strips, revealing the weathered wood beneath. The house seemed to whisper secrets of its past, secrets that were better left undiscovered.
This is insane. Why did we even come here? The sense of dread was palpable, and the darkness seemed to close in around them.
Claire whispered, her voice trembling with fear. "I don't like this place. It feels wrong." Her eyes darted around, searching the shadows for any sign of movement.
Are you scared, Claire? Ben's voice was mocking, but there was a hint of nervousness in his tone. He tried to mask his own fear with bravado.
Ben teased, but Claire's glare was sharp enough to cut through the tension. She wasn't in the mood for jokes. Not here, not now.
No, let's just get this over with. The urgency in her voice was clear. They needed to move, to do what they came for and leave this place behind.
They stepped inside, the door creaking shut behind them. The air was thick with dust and the smell of decay, a testament to the years of neglect. The furniture, once grand, now lay in ruins, covered in a thick layer of dust. Floorboards creaked under their feet, each step echoing through the empty halls. Each room was empty, filled only with shadows and the remnants of a life long forgotten. The beam of their flashlight cut through the darkness, revealing glimpses of the past.
Did you hear that? Derek's voice was barely a whisper, his eyes wide with fear. The sound had been faint but unmistakable.
Derek whispered, stopping suddenly. His heart pounded in his chest as he strained to hear the noise again. The silence was deafening, each second stretching into an eternity. A faint scratching sound seemed to come from upstairs. They exchanged nervous glances, each one silently urging the other to take the lead. The staircase loomed before them, a path into the unknown. With a deep breath, they began to climb, each step bringing them closer to whatever awaited them in the darkness. The attic door was hidden at the end of a narrow hallway. It was slightly ajar. A flickering light spilled out from the gap.
Someone's up there.
Slowly, cautiously, they pushed the door open. The attic was a jumble of old furniture and forgotten toys. A single candle flickered on a dusty table, casting long, dancing shadows, and there, in the corner, they saw it. A figure huddled beneath a tattered sheet.
Hello?
Alex called out, his voice echoing in the silence. The figure didn't move, it didn't make a sound.
This isn't funny.
Derek said, his voice tight with tension. He took a step closer. As he did, the candle flickered once and then went out, plunging the attic into darkness. At the same moment, the door slammed shut with a deafening bang. Screams filled the darkness. Panic surged through the group.
The door! Open the door!
Claire shrieked. They threw themselves against the door, but it wouldn't budge. It was jammed tight. And then they heard it, whispering, soft and low, all around them. The whispering grew louder, swirling around them like a malevolent wind. Fear clawed at their throats.
We have to get out of here.
Alex yelled. They kicked and shoved at the door until with a groan it finally burst open. They stumbled out into the hallway, gasping for air.
Ben, where's Ben?
Claire suddenly cried out. They looked around wildly. Ben was gone. Ben! Where are you? Their voices echoed in the empty house. They searched frantically, their hearts pounding in their chests. They checked every room, every closet, every dark corner, but Ben was nowhere to be found.
He must have run outside.
Derek said, his voice tight with worry. They raced out of the house and into the storm. The rain was coming down even harder now, and the wind whipped their hair into their faces.
Ben!
Ben, where are you?
They called out over and over. They searched for what seemed like hours, but there was no sign of Ben. Just the howling wind and the pouring rain. Finally, soaked to the bone and shivering with cold and fear, they returned to the house. They huddled together in the foyer, their faces pale and drawn. Suddenly a faint buzzing sound broke the silence. It was coming from Alex's pocket, his phone.
It's Ben!
He exclaimed, pulling out the phone. He swiped the screen.
It's a text.
His eyes scanned the message. As he read, the color drained from his face. His hand trembled.
What does it say?
Claire asked, her voice a choked whisper. She could barely get the words out, her throat tightening with fear. The room seemed to grow colder as she waited for an answer. Alex looked up, his eyes wide with horror. He had never seen anything like this before. The message on the phone screen was something out of a nightmare.
It says, "Help me, I'm trapped in the walls." His voice trembled as he read the words aloud, each syllable dripping with dread.
The words hung in the air, heavy with dread. The room seemed to close in around them, the shadows growing longer and darker. They stared at each other, their blood turning to ice. No one knew what to say or do. The fear was palpable, almost suffocating. Trapped in the walls? How was that even possible? Another buzz, another text. The phone vibrated in Alex's hand, making him jump. This time, it was a picture. The image slowly loaded, revealing something even more disturbing. The friends huddled closer, their breaths catching in their throats as they looked at the screen. The tension was unbearable. It was a selfie of Ben. But something was wrong. The photo was blurry, as if taken in a hurry, and Ben's face was twisted in terror. His eyes were wide with terror. They seemed to be pleading for help, begging for someone to save him. And behind him, peering out from a dark opening in the wall, was a face. It was barely visible, but unmistakably there. A pale, ghostly face with eyes that burned with an eerie, unnatural light. The face seemed to be watching them, aware of their every move. The room fell silent, the only sound the faint hum of the phone. They knew they had to do something, but what? The fear was paralyzing and the message was clear. Someone or something was trapped in the walls. The phone slipped from Alex's grasp and clattered to the floor. Silence descended upon them, broken only by the sound of their own ragged breathing. Where was Ben now? Who was that in the picture with him? And what had happened in that house? They had so many questions, but no answers. One thing was certain, they would never forget this night, the night they dared to enter Raven's Hollow. The friends left the house that night, their minds and souls shaken to their core. They never went back, but the memory of Raven's Hollow and the terrifying disappearance of their friend stayed with them. Some things are best left undisturbed. Some secrets are meant to remain hidden, and some places are forever haunted. The end.